The rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quota to the king in profusion. Responsibly, the rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quota to the king in profusion. Report. Since Maharaj Yudhisthira was under the protection of the Ajita, the infallible Lord, as above mentioned, the properties of the Lord, namely the rivers, oceans, hills, forests, etc., were all pleased, and they used to supply their respective quota of taxes to the king. The secret to success is to take refuge under the protection of the Supreme Lord. Without His sanction, nothing can be possible. To make economic development by our own endeavor on the strength of tools and machinery is not all. The sanction of the Supreme Lord must be there. Otherwise, despite all instrumental arrangements, everything will be unsuccessful. The ultimate cause of success is the Daiva, the Supreme. Kings like Maharaj Yudhisthira knew perfectly well that the king is the agent of the Supreme Lord to look after the welfare of the mass of people. Actually, the state belongs to the Supreme Lord. The rivers, oceans, forests, hills, drugs, etc. are not creations of man. They are all creations of the Supreme Lord, and the living being is allowed to make use of the property of the Lord for the service of the Lord. Today's slogan is that everything is for the people, and therefore the government is for the people and by the people. But to produce a new species of humanity at the present moment on the basis of God consciousness and the perfection of human life, the ideology of godly communism, the world has to again follow in the footsteps of kings like Maharaj Yudhisthira or Parikshit. There is enough of everything by the will of the Lord, and we can make proper use of things to live comfortably without enmity between man or animal and man or nature. The control of the Lord is everywhere, and if the Lord is pleased, every part of nature will be pleased. The rivers will flow profusely to fertilize the land. The oceans will supply sufficient quantities of minerals, pearls, and jewels. The forests will supply sufficient wood, drugs, and vegetables. And the seasonal changes will effectively help produce fruits and flowers in profuse quantity. The artificial way of living depending on factories and tools can render so-called happiness only to a limited number at the cost of millions. Since the energy of the mass of people is engaged in factory production, the natural products are being hampered, and for this the mass is unhappy. Without being educated properly, the mass of people are following in the footsteps of the vested interest by exploiting natural reserves, and therefore there is acute competition between individual and nation. There is no control by the trained agent of the Lord. We must look into the defects of modern civilization by comparison here, and should follow in the footsteps of Maharaj Yudhisthira to cleanse man and wipe out anachronisms. Who knows what that means?
Monarchy.
Huh?
Disturbance. Political disturbance.
No. The Krishna is there?
Fascist government.
Chrono is time, and I
Yeah, it means something from the past that's no longer prevalent. I think that's what I'm asking to look it up. The translation again: the rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quota to the king in profusion. Mudyanati mirandasya janagana salakayam chakshusmiritam jena tasmai shri gurave namaha shri chaitanya manavishtam shapikam jena bhutale tayam rupakara maya dadati sa padantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srila Sarikora Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Got it?
Anachronism. A chronological misplacing of persons, events, objects. A chronological misplacing of persons, events, objects, or customs in regard to each other. An error in chronology a person or thing that is chronologically out of place, one from a former age that is incongruous in the present.
Yeah, that's right. Something from the former age which is incongruous or not relevant in today's age. So what is that Prabhupada's referring to? Something which is not relevant. Anyway. So, the main point that I take from this verse and purport is that if our faith is strong enough, then Krishna will arrange everything for us. Just like Yudhisthira Maharaj. He was given half the kingdom, but his half of the kingdom was like a desert. But he went there and pleased the Lord by his activities, by his devotion, and then the rain started coming. It changed from a desert into a lush place, and he was thriving. His half of the kingdom was thriving. Pandavas, Dhritarashtra just gave, all right, here's your half of the kingdom. Of course, later they weren't, and when they saw that he was so flourishing, they became envious, Duryodhana and party, and they contrived to bring Shakuni and others to gamble and they knew he was a little addicted to gambling. And so they cheated him out even of that half of the kingdom because he performed the Rajasuya sacrifice, which was very opulently performed, and everybody could see that he was flourishing. And even Duryodhana mistook water for land, right? And he fell in the water. There's a passage there in the Krishna book how Duryodhana, because the Vishwakarma, was it Vishwakarma or Maya, who made the palace so nicely, Vishwakarma, that he mistook. Duryodhana was walking around, checking everything out, and then he thought that this was land, but actually it was water, and he fell into the water. And all the queens, Krishna's queens were there. Was it Krishna's queens or the Draupadi? Draupadi also. They laughed when they saw that happen. And then Duryodhana, his hair stood on end because he was angry that people were laughing. They were ridiculing him. He couldn't tolerate it. He couldn't laugh at himself, in other words. Ordinary person, they would laugh. Oh, look what I did. I made a mistake. But he was such a utopian, such a perfectionist that he thought, oh, how can I make a mistake? And anybody laughs at me, that's their fault. So he became angry. But then Yudhisthira was saying, no, don't laugh. But Krishna said, let them laugh. Because Krishna knew even better what Duryodhana's character was. So anyway, the point again is that if we really put Krishna in the center, then everything will flourish. So that it's like it's not so easy to know what is first of all, because since time immemorial we've been putting ourselves in the center, and so it's easy, in the name of putting Krishna in the center, we put ourselves in the center. It's a razor's edge for everyone. There's no easy way to get beyond that false ego and to actually do things for Krishna, not for our own fame or prestige or advantage. It's a razor's edge. And if we're sincere, then sometimes we may cause blood by that razor's edge, but we'll learn from our mistake. Like Duryodhana couldn't learn. But at least we should be able to learn when we fool ourselves. In other words, sometimes we may fool ourselves because of habit, because the mind is so powerful. And that we're thinking, oh, we're doing this for Krishna. But really, we're doing it for some other motive. Just like some of our God brothers. They were big leaders in a society. And they were chanting their rounds every day. But there was some weed that was growing along with that devotional creeper. And it choked out the devotional creeper. And later on, they became victims of that. Even for 15, 20 years, they were following. People were glorifying them. Oh, you chant your rounds so nicely. And later on, they fell down. Others also. Many who were giving very good classes, really nice classes. But then they deviated. So, it's not just, in other words, we have to be always alert to pull out the weeds and to examine our conscience. When I was a Catholic, we used to go to confession, and that was one of the prayers. We had to examine our conscience to see, trying to honestly see where we had failed. And then we'd make a confession. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. And then the priest would give some oblation or some penance that we had. So it's not a bad thing. We should examine our conscience. And we should ask for forgiveness. Make a confession. Prabhupada said it's good. But then we have to take the process seriously. Actually, make double our effort to put Krishna in the center. And to be ready to take a humble position without desire for acclaim. Be honest in our analysis of others, so that if someone is serving Krishna better, or you can say more pleasing to the spiritual master than Krishna, we should recognize that, not be envious of that, and cooperate with them. It's not that everyone is equal. This is a Mayavadi idea. Everyone is equal. Democracy. No. Some are more advanced, some are equal, some are less advanced. We have to learn how to discriminate and how to deal with each one accordingly. Those who are less advanced, we should show mercy, encourage them, bring them to the Krishna consciousness more and more. Those who are more advanced, we should cooperate with them and recognize their qualities. Just like this boy yesterday leading Kirtan, Vishwambar, young boy. But obviously he's got a advanced consciousness that he can chant Hare Krishna like that. And we should recognize that, even he may be young and so whatever. Even a child, if they have real attraction for Krishna, then that we shouldn't be envious of that. Oh, I'm older than you, I'm more senior than you, therefore no. You should recognize that and encourage them in that way, not to try to put them down. This is a material life. Somebody superior, we want to bring them down. It's like these terrorists. They don't have anything positive to offer, but they just don't like someone else's flourishing. There's like a saying, like a Russian saying, that someone got a benediction. Well, first the two neighbors were there, and one got a cow, and so the other person was envious. Oh, you have a cow, I don't have a cow. You can say. So then that second person who didn't have the cow, he was given a benediction. You can have whatever you want. One wish you can fulfill. And so he said, okay, I wish that my neighbor's cow should die. Don't you want to have your own cow? You can have two cows. No, I want his cow should die. So this is the mentality of the terrorists. They have nothing positive. They just want to break everything down. Destroy whatever's there. So this is called malice, envy. We have to be careful not to fall victim of that. Rather, we should build whatever's there. Like Prabhupada, he didn't come and say, destroy this civilization. He said, use it, but put Krishna in the center. All these zeros, we're not impressed with this Western civilization. But our mood is not to break it down, but to dovetail it. Put one in front of it, put Krishna in front of it. Then all these printing presses or whatever, we can use in Krishna's service. Whatever's there, we can use in Krishna's service. That's the positive alternative, not just to destroy, and then with some later date you propose you're going to build something. No, that's not the way to do it. So that requires that we have a little faith that Krishna will protect us, will support us. If we put Krishna in the center, we won't be the loser. So how is that faith cultivated? By associating with those who are more faithful. It's like we're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam now. We're associating with Srila Prabhupada, Maharaj Yudhisthira, Lord Sri Krishna, on the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. So by their association, then our faith will develop little by little. We come together like this, we chant Hare Krishna, discuss these things, then imperceptibly our faith will develop. But we have to learn how to associate. You see, practically, some people can't associate. They can't associate. Because their false ego is too strong. And therefore they deprive themselves of association. Even they know that association. Lord Chaitanya stresses the importance of association. Srila Prabhupada stressed why he took so much trouble to create International Society for Krishna. Because of the importance of association. But even that association is there, they're welcome to come in that association. They find some way not to come. Because of false ego. They're afraid, oh, if I come there, I might not be so prominent. I have to accept. Isn't it? That's what's going on. What is why we have to exhibit this kind of envy? There's no need. It's been going on. That's why we came to the material world. I got to tell you one story that happened to me in front of Prabhupada. Two of my godbrothers were trying to force me to do something, to go to do a certain service which I didn't want to do, and I'd already worked out with Prabhupada I was going to do another service. So Prabhupada, they came to complain about me in front of Prabhupada, and I got a tap on the back by Prabhupada's secretary and during Mangal Arati, which was very unusual that Prabhupada would call anybody during Mangal Arati. So I went up to the Prabhupada's room, and the two devotees who were complaining about me were sitting there, and Prabhupada was there, and Prabhupada came. When I came in, Prabhupada kind of with his hand, he said, "You can sit here." I sat down, and I knew what was going on. Then they started complaining. Well, Trivikrama Swami this, Trivikrama Swami that. And I didn't say anything very much because I didn't feel, I'd already arranged with Prabhupada for my services and he approved. So then they saw that Prabhupada was kind of supporting me a little bit, or that they were just complaining. But it wasn't. So then one of them said, well, if he does go there, I wanted to go to Korea. If he does go there, because they wanted me on a bus party in America, at least he should make a commitment to stay there for 10 years. Should I probably look at it?
Challenge Srila Prabhupada how
Huh?
to. Like they were challenge Srila Prabhupada how to instruct.
Yeah. How he should manage me.
Yeah.
So Prabhupada said, he is my disciple. If I want, he'll stay there his whole life. Why is this envy starting now in my presence? He said, I saw, after my spiritual master left, that envy was there between godbrothers. But even in my presence, envy is there. What is this? I felt so protected. I felt like this, like a little child. Father was protecting me. Then we came out, and then one of the devotees came over and said, well, I guess we're, he said, this was a big concession for him. He said, I guess we're both in Maya, and he paid his obeisances. And then the other devotee never. They were big sannyasis, and both of them fell down. I mean, it was that was the mood. They thought that they were the controllers. And so, the danger is there. I'm just saying, the point is, they were chanting Hare Krishna, they were leading strong kirtans, but it's still Maya Korte. So we have to be always careful about our position, not to allow a false ego to overcome, to always keep ourselves humble. It's not easy, because we're going to have leadership, we're going to have authority over others to some degree, we're going to have opulences come, but not to allow those to blind us from our real position. Prabhupada was never blinded. Even he had so many followers, so much acclaim, he always considered himself as a servant, because he was always remembering his spiritual master. Okay, any comments? Questions on this?
I have a question here. What should we do if we are envious towards a devotee?
Then we should approach the devotee and tell them, please forgive me, I'm envious. And then, if we open our mind and heart to them, then they can help us. We're envious of them, why? Actually, the envious of Krishna. Krishna has all the qualities. He's the most famous, the most expert, the most beautiful, the most competent, the most organized, whatever we are envious of this person for, the most advanced. Krishna is the so, and they can help us. If they're more advanced than us and we're envious of that, then they're more advanced and we submit to them a little bit, then they can help us with our envy. To see that it's foolish. That they're not really in an enviable position. And it's simply a matter of surrendering, and we can also advance. It's difficult because of false ego. It's the only reason it's difficult. We're expecting honor in this world. We're not ready to submit. Always expecting honor. This is a mode of passion. Especially it's harder for women. That's why women should be protected from their own selfishness. Because a woman is insulted, she can't tolerate it. Very difficult. Therefore, she shouldn't be insulted. Like Draupadi never forgave them for insulting her. Never forgave. All the time they were in exile, in her heart she was always just thinking how they should die. She couldn't forgive them. So that's why Krishna took a vow to kill them. Because she was insulted. So women should be protected. But men should learn how to tolerate. Brahminical quality, mode of goodness. Now again, if we're because Prabhupada gave us an institution to manage, so sometimes in the cause of managing, we can't tolerate it. In other words, we have to defend the position, not our own person, but the position. Position sometimes has to be defended against those who are envious. Just like kings. Kings are allowed to, they don't have to tolerate if someone tries to take their position. They're allowed to defend themselves. They're allowed to become aggressive, violent, even if someone comes to take their kingdom. But the Brahmin, he should be able to tolerate. Therefore, better not to take management position. And if we do take management position, it's simply because we want to serve the mission, Srila Prabhupada's mission. Otherwise, management, monarchy, it leads to madness. You become crazy. You think I'm temple commander and you start lording it over people. You think I'm temple president. You think they become crazy. I've seen so many people. They go crazy in 5 minutes with a little bit of power, position. 18-year-old temple commander. He starts swaggering down. I'm the temple commander. So, but sometimes we do have to, because Prabhupada wanted. This is also not traditional. You see why the Vaishnavas never got into organization, because it leads to this kind of madness. So in the past, in our tradition, there was no organization, institution, hierarchy, temple president, temple commanders, GBC. There was guru and disciple. And they kept aloof from society. They didn't try to organize amongst each other. But Bhaktisiddhanta was the first one to attempt organization. And after he left, it didn't work. The leading sannyasis, due to false ego, they started fighting each other. I should be the acharya. No, I should be the acharya. And had to go to court. So it's a challenge for us to organize. There will be envious people who want to break the institution. So, but still, someone has to say, no, this is what Prabhupada wanted, we have to keep the institution. But that's a dangerous position. As soon as you take position, oh, I'm going to be the defender, then you're, it can be an upadi, designation. Instead of the real upadi, it's a servant of a servant of a servant. We have to remember why we organize it. Otherwise, there's no need. We're doing it because Prabhupada wanted that. That was clear. He left his last will very clearly. He wanted organization. Okay, we'll stop there. Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.